You're tuned in to RX Radio.
If you're surprised to hear my voice and Thayer's voice when he talks, we were just as surprised as you. But welcome to the Monday show. Monday show? Is this Monday or Sunday?
Yeah, Monday release.
Monday release show. It's us. You get to spend an extra time with us. We've all decided that Sundays is just, you needed an extra little spice of the Jameses in your life, and we have decided that today would be that day. So you get us back to backs. You obviously listened to yesterday's. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got something out of it. I can't even remember what we spoke about yesterday's,
Grip
but
strength.
grip strength. Grip training. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely would have got something out of that one. I think that one's a great listen to. And if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. And I'm a little bit offended that you don't want to listen to us on a Sunday, but you'll listen to this one on a Monday rather. So offense taken, young sir or madam, if you are listening to this and you have not listened to the one previously. Go back and listen to it and then come back to this. But we are here. We're talking about a topic that I think it makes or breaks you as a coach. Let's be honest. It's the foundational aspect of coaching. And it comes automatically with having like the title of coach or personal trainer, but it is something that needs to be built and established, and it takes time. It takes time in all aspects of it in its entirety, but it takes time to build this rapport. And what we're talking about is trust within the coach-client relationship, and trust in terms of like client buy-in, and it all kind of falls into like the trust category around what you do as kind of like a coach with like your coach and your clients. So it's a great topic. It's an interesting topic, and I think myself and Thayer have obviously discussed this at great lengths in certain aspects and throughout my business, as well as I think what you get from like the rec. And we thought that it would be a great topic of discussion for everyone to kind of hopefully take something from, but if not, maybe just to start thinking about how they could either improve certain aspects of their business or their coaching acumen, or maybe just start to ask the questions around, the coaches that you're working with, if you are working with a coach, or however that kind of works from that standpoint.
Yeah, so as we were talking and discussing, we came upon trust. That I think we've done previous episodes before discussing rapport, like how to create that rapport, how we can put in systems, and through that initial intake process, like really learn about our clients, the people that we work with, to kind of help facilitate that rapport building initially. But something I think that stands out in the conversations and discussions that we've had is like that trust, and what all kind of navigating that as a coach, but also what that means for that coach-client relationship and trying to develop trust, because it's much greater than just building rapport. Like, it's outside of the small talk. It's outside of just, hey, we're at the gym and like we work together, especially in your setting. Like, I think you offer a unique perspective on client trust, because not only is it a like long duration that you're working with somebody to develop that trust, but you also find a lot of your clients through their processes whenever they're getting ready to compete. You find them at some of their most vulnerable times. You're around through, the ups and downs, the highs and lows. You've kind of seen all sides of it. So I thought it'd be a unique perspective to see you as a coach, not only how you develop and how you develop trust, but also how you navigate that client trust when they are bringing things to you, and how having that trust built creates that form or creates that communication piece that you are getting a lot more information that through a less trusted coach, or somebody that hasn't developed it to the capacity that you have with your clients, that you're not getting as detailed information, or you're not getting all the information you need to make the decisions off of that, whether it's, somebody like overate on something, somebody wasn't mindful of one aspect of their training that they needed to be, or even like what's going on in their personal life that's going to add to their stress, their fatigue, their ability to recover, that you have to look at how this can play and how this can affect all aspects of training and their ability to perform moving forward.
Yeah, I think as you were kind of like talking through it, I was trying to go back to like what my original thought process was around everything. Like, and that's obviously, it's difficult trying to think like 10 years back, but I think where it comes from is you're automatically in a position of authority. Like that, you already know more than the person coming to you. Like most of the times, especially when you're starting out, if you're working with whoever's kind of coming into your circle, and most of the people are going to start working with like Gen Pop or like face to face, and it's going to be the very beginning. But you know more than that person already. Like you've gone through the educational standpoint, you've gone through whatever your Cert 3 or 4 or your like your personal training accreditation. You know more than this individual in front of you. So in theory, you are an authority figure. It's like, but with authority comes like responsibility. Great. Not to quote Spider-Man quote.
Let's do
it. Not to throw out a Spider-Man quote, but with that comes responsibility. It's like now you've got a base of knowledge that is greater than that of the individual that you're working with. It's like you can't lead them astray. Like this person is coming to you in some shape or form, and is going to come trusting you off the bat. Like there is a form of trust that needs to be given to start the process. So it's almost like you've already got one up on everything, because an individual only seeks help when they're at the point that they need help, or they're looking to put that trust that they have, even if it can be a small minuscule amount of it, but they have an amount of trust and they're putting it into someone's hands to be able to guide them on this journey. It's your job right there and then to take whatever amount of trust that is and make sure that you don't break it. Because if you break it, it's gone. And as we all know in like our lives, in everyday lives that's not training, trust is one of those things that once it's gone, it is extremely difficult to get back, and it takes a very long time, and it's a very easy thing to break and not a very easy thing to regather or build back up. So the way that I always thought about it was, if that's where you're starting, if that's like your base foundation, it's like you've got to do any and everything you can to make sure that you're building and continuously building that rapport of trust, or that amount of trust that's kind of coming through. All of your actions need to prove true that you are, protecting that trust, protecting what's going on. I've always seen it as, and it may be part of it comes from like a bit of the paramedic background that I have, is I've always seen it in like the medical field. It's like your information is private. So like for us, if I disclosed anything about a case or anything that had happened on like a like on an accident scene, and I spoke about the patient, and I spoke about like I named them, or I disclosed their medical information, it's like I got in trouble. Like I got in large amounts of trouble. And I always kind of took that same type of approach of, anything we talk about needs to fall under that same type of like category. Like it's going to happen within that. And then it's the trusting aspect of it comes down to, not just talking about their medical cases or anything that they have, but it's their insecurities, their inability to do things. It's no one wants to be spoken about in a negative way, or in a way that they perceive as negative. And that could be, when I first started, I couldn't snatch, for example. Like I didn't know how to snatch when I first trained, like started trying to do Olympic weightlifting. And like it irritated me and it frustrated me, and I got really, really upset about the fact that I couldn't do like a snatch. If my coach had gone around talking shit and being like, like he's so bad at snatching, like he can't do this, like, do you know what that would have done to my confidence and trust in my coach at that time? Well, it would have completely destroyed it. It would have made it kind of to the point of like not having any trust in this individual in front of me, because as much as it sounds so silly, but it's as much as like that is such a big deal to me, and it may not be a big deal to him. But if I were to hear him going around saying that, like I would be like, well, like I'm not going to trust him in telling him that I really struggle with the snatch, for example, or I really struggle with squatting, or I really hate the way that I look. It's like a more approachable one. It's like I'm really uncomfortable with the way that I look. I don't like my shape. I don't like my structure. I'm really trying to do something about it. Imagine if you went around and you spoke about your client and said, Susie is just, she hates her body so much and she's really just uncomfortable and she hates this love handles that she has. It's like, imagine if Susie heard you saying that. It's like she'd never tell you anything again. And and there's so many constructs to this of and you brought up the one in terms of like food stuff, but when you get into the nutrition realm or you get to working with people around their nutrition, it's very easy to reprimand people when they do something incorrect or wrong, and wrong in inverted commas from a nutrition standpoint, where we'll very easily see like a snap judgment or a snap kind of thing of like, oh, why did you eat that? When they tell you about something that they've eaten. And here the problem is, you've trained dogs before. I've trained Ziggy. It's like you hit them with that negative reinforcement right there and then straight away. It's like they generally aren't going to do it. They're not going to come to you again in terms of that. They're not going to tell you. They're not going to confide in you. Like you've got to be very mindful on how you speak as you're coming up with as a coach, and even as I am now. Like I'm mindful of what I say when I get messages. I'm mindful of how people talk about me and how they talk about how I speak to clients, because that's also like part of this whole trust thing. Is you want your reputation to uphold that of like you're someone that he can trust. For example, I've never heard him talk bad about a client. I've never heard him talk I've never heard him talk down to clients. Like those are things that build trust and rapport, and it all falls under the same thing of like reputation, I think. But trust is like one of those massive things that when you can break down that barrier of the individual in front of you, the faster you can gain trust and build momentum within that trust, the more you're going to break down barriers for your client to be able to succeed within what they're attempting to do.
I think at the very beginning, you brought up a good point that individuals coming to you are coming in good faith. Like there's an inherent trust that's built in because they're reaching out to you for help. And typically through that, it is because of an insecurity. It's at a time where maybe they're more vulnerable, or at the very least, they're looking to create change in their life, that they've recognized some trait, some habit, something that they would like to change that isn't necessarily healthy or having a positive effect on their life. So they're trying to create that change, and in that, entrusting you. And it creates that power dynamic because you do have the advantage of the authority. You have information on them that they don't have on you. So there is that. It's good to recognize that power dynamic and be very mindful how you proceed, because since that trust is inherently built in through that approach, that it's the coach's, like the coach has an opportunity to maintain that trust or to lose that trust. And that's something that, how you approach that individual, how you respond to, two different situations where maybe it didn't work, maybe, things changed and it didn't go according to plan. Like how you proceed as a coach is going to kind of set the precedence of what that dynamic, what that relationship's going to be. And once you've lost it, it's sometimes impossible, sometimes very, very hard to build that bridge back. And it doesn't necessarily create a successful relationship. I know some coaches that, have misstepped, and like then they're always trying to chase the carrot to get information out of a client instead of that information coming freely. I know in my setting, kind of building that trust and recognizing that authority figure position and the dynamic that it creates is very important. Kind of two sides of it that I can look at is one on the fitness floor. Whenever I'm up there, I am seen as an authority figure, but how I try to create that trust is being able to help, being able to answer questions, whether that's having people that are comfortable enough to ask for a spot, whether it's a technique check or form check, being approachable in that sense, but then also in good faith, they're asking for your help, and you being mindful of, hey, this is an opportunity to create that interaction and that engagement, to help and assist with this individual. Maybe they're not my client, but in my setting, it is those touch points, it's those interactions that I need that trust developed, so they are comfortable to approach myself, that they are willing to go talk to their staffs. And we also see now there's greater engagement. They're willing to continue to come back. It helps our participation numbers, that they're in an enjoyable environment. They're looking at what other events, what other challenges. So it kind of has a trickle down effect by those individual touch points and how it can continue to build and add to the environment of the gym. And then on the other side, working with athletes, like working with dance and cheer, there is a big dynamic that trust is absolutely needed in that
Drop you.
There's so much going on in that, of one, acting in good faith, of they're going outside of their regular schedule to work with me for their strength and conditioning, because they're trusting that it's going to help them. It's going to make them perform better, that they're going to be stronger, that they're going to be better conditioned, that it's going to improve their performance. And so being very mindful of that dynamic and how we can proceed. But then also it's the responsibility of myself and coaches to recognize our athletes, to be able to recognize, hey, when something's off, whenever we need to push in a little bit more, hey, what's going on? Do we need to adjust things? Do we need to use that trust dynamic that's been created to be able to, lean in, ask questions, to change, even if that individual isn't wanting to, or like aware of a greater impact that this could have, where maybe there's a greater, it's not worth it to proceed that day or that route based on this information if we're noticing differences. But it all kind of comes from that trust dynamic that's maintained in a good working relationship, to get as much information, to be as efficient as we can.
I think at the end of the day, like even from the beginning till, and I think the beginning is maybe what to focus on. It's the beginning of the interaction that you have with this clientele. It can be at an advanced level. It can be at a, you're just starting to work on the gym floor. At the beginning, you have the upper hand because, like you said, there is this willingness for the person to invest in whatever's going on. They're coming to you with an ounce of trust already. It's yours to lose. Like it literally is yours to lose. So if you just make sure that you don't do things that are going to deceive them or put, mistrust or bring mistrust into it, you can't fail in theory. If you were to really try and look at it, it's like they've come to you at this level of openness and there's a level of trust there. It's up to you to keep that. I think, trust is it's such an easy thing to build upon when you really think about it. It's about the small actions. It's not necessarily about, it's not the I'm here for you in your times, your family matter. It's not that. It's these small incremental things that you do. In person, for example, like you were saying, like on the gym floor, trust is the walking around. It's like helping them like spot. Like that's literally building trust. Like trust that you don't drop this on your face is what I'm here to do. It's like you're building trust in that way. It's the answering questions. It's being available in a timely manner. It's starting to build in so many different like avenues of this that you just do what you say that you're going to do. Like that builds its trust and builds the trust of the relationship that you have. It's the same thing in like an everyday relationship. You don't have like boxes that you ticked and it's like, oh, Thayer messaged me on my birthday. He's got to level up on his trust this year. Like, it's not like that's not how it works. Like, it's just your everyday interactions. It's like, how do me and you trust each other? How can I know that, like, I could send you a message at any time and within 30 minutes, I'd get a reply from you. You would be dead asleep or not, and I'd still get a reply from you. Like, I just trust that you're there because we built that rapport. It's like, that's the same concept in terms of, like, what needs to be done because as much as we're talking about it, so many people could take this away and be like, oh, I now need to make sure that I do the X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, you don't need to make sure, you don't have to have a tick list or a task list of what to complete. What you do have to do is just maybe, and again, I like the word audit your current interactions with clients, audit the current interactions with the people in your lives and be like, would these people trust me? Have I followed through on the things that I said that I would do? If your answer is not yes to like 90% of the things, I think you need to reevaluate that and focus on those things, and you'll see how your overall trust and overall reputation will start to increase from that and the positives that will come from the back end of that. I think, the self-audit that needs to occur at many times in our lives and many times throughout the year allows you to ask those questions of like, am I doing what I think I say I'm doing? Am I actually doing that? And it's like, okay, then if you're not, then change it. If you are, continue. And it's like, and if you are, you generally are going to see that around you. But it's funny. I would argue that the people who have earned and have so much trust already will probably be the first ones to question if they are. It generally goes that way. It's like the people who are doing everything that they say that they're doing will be the first ones to like audit, not question, let's use the right word, audit if they're doing it effectively, versus the people who aren't will probably go on a defensive and be like, no, I am. I know I am. I always do. It's like, hold on. If you really try and like look at it, I can guarantee that divide in the two individuals, the two different types of people would be quite evident. But I don't know your thoughts on something like that, but I always see that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That those individuals, the kind of the first to audit that are following through on things, because one, they do put value into what their reputation is, how they're perceived, and like how their character precedes themselves. So they're always in reflection of making sure that they're upholding that standard of self that they've created. Where very easily it can be lost, or it can be kind of shifted into that face value checking boxes. It makes me almost think, there's been conversations over like, what is it? I think Black Mirror did an episode, and there's been talks about some countries like instilling this, but almost like social points that individuals get for like how they interact.
Fuck.
And
Did you see that episode? Did you watch that episode?
Yeah.
Right? That was, if you haven't watched that episode of Black Mirror, I'm never going to recommend a Netflix series because I don't watch a lot of TV. I watched that one. I don't know why I watched Black Mirror. Was that during COVID?
Probably.
Must have been during COVID.
Yeah, I think so.
I watched it, and that was insanity. With the little like bubble up of like what number I am depending on like how I think and interact with people. Fucking insane. But yes. You were sorry. Continue.
No. I like it's exactly that though. That like the checking of the boxes. It reminds me of that like you're not basing it off of your personal interaction. Like you're doing things just to check the boxes. Similar in that episode, like here's the social number that this person has accumulated without any context of previous interactions or information. You're just basing it on like the reviews of others and how that person or how those people are treated in the episode is very interesting. So all that to say that it shouldn't be checking the boxes, because it should be something deeper than that. It should be a personalized experience from a coach to client dynamic, that they are checking and they're continuing to build upon that. And it's not just that face value where it's just kind of focusing on, are we checking these boxes? Are we doing the things mindlessly, or are we intentional with how we're handling situations, how we're addressing things, how we're utilizing that trust that we've developed? Because it can very easily go sideways, and can just kind of like fall to, this, I'm supposed to, do these things, so I'm just doing it. But that's not truly what like trust is. Trust is that rapport, in that the person feels, they feel safe with you. They feel they can be vulnerable with you. They can open up. They can provide deeper level of information, and that's going to allow you to be a better coach, because you have a fuller picture of what you're working with, or how you can approach this, or even how to approach individuals differently. Because some people are going to respond very well to like direct feedback. Some people are going to need like that compliment sandwich, where like, hey, you're doing this good, let's work on this, like keep doing this thing very well. But understanding that, I think, only happens and can best be utilized through that trust that is built upon, because you're understanding them at an individual level, and you're auditing how you approach it, and how kind of how you can help influence that dynamic. Because it's up to the coach to kind of to be adjustable, adaptable to that individual. Like, there shouldn't be the expectation that your client's the one that needs to change, interestingly enough, because they're coming to you to change. But it's not your job as the coach of like, okay, like I need to help their personality change. It's, hey, I need to recognize what their personality is, what their like unique quirks are, how they respond to feedback. If it is that like, again, direct or negative reinforcement, negative in the way of like, hey, understand like this has consequences. Not negative is, just belittling or berating somebody, but it's understanding how a person's going to respond to the feedback that you give them, and being able to present it in a way that it creates the change, or it encourages the behavior that you're trying to get out of that individual. But
I think,
go ahead.
yeah, I think I just want to touch on one thing that I think you said at the start of this, and this is it's an interesting concept, because it's not something that you can't teach this. You can't teach this. It's part of, I think, development. It's also part of the relationship and the interaction between the two people who come together. It is your job as a coach to make them feel safe. And that's not, I'm not talking about like feel safe in the like woke way. It's not what I'm referring to at all. What I'm referring to is there's individuals who will come across in your life, and it's generally got to do with like a values base, and it's generally got to do with like the way that they, uphold themselves, and the way that they present themselves, and the way that they action the things that they do. But their way in which, or their manner in which they will interact with you, gives you a safe feeling. And that sounds woohoo and fucking, crystals and all that shit. But we know it. We all know exactly what we're referring to. It's when you're around individuals and you know that you can just be like chilled, and that you can, trust, and you can depend on these people. And that's that part of that safe feeling. This is why I'm such a big advocate for two things within the coaching realm. One, that initial interaction. It's not an intake form, and then from an intake form, you just get in a program, and then it's just kind of like it's a call, or it's a phone call, or a video call, or it's a physical interaction of like, hey, come down to the gym, let's have a chat, like we'll go through an assessment. that initial interaction is about seeing if this works. If there's a relationship, a give and a take that can occur. It's like, especially in my realm, it's like I know that I'm going to be with this person for a long time. It's like, I need to like you, to be honest. And that sounds so bad, but it's like, I need you to stimulate me in some way. I need you to excite me about the goal that you want to achieve. I need you to excite me in terms of like a challenge or something that's wrong or something that I need to overcome. Like, I need a problem. It's like, and I need you to be a good person. Because if you're not, it's like, I don't want to work with you, because that's not an interaction that I want to work with. That's not a safe environment where we can give and take, and I can lead and guide you on the journey and mold. And you were talking about like this changing of the person. It's funny how we don't want to change an individual. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. But what I am doing is I'm helping you mold the structure that you are. It's like, I learn your personalities. I learn your quirks. Like you said, I learn I learn about their family members. I learn about the things going on in their lives. I learn about their pets. Their pets is the easiest one. Just animals are so much better than humans, but just learn about their pets. And it's like, and now you have like a rapport that you can continuously work upon from there. It's like, now you can help mold this individual with their personality and what you're trying to achieve to get them towards their goal. And that's the environment that is trust. That is the environment that creates safety. That is the environment and why that is so important. And this all sounds like great until it doesn't. And then so like you'll be like, okay, but why is it important? It's important because when the shit hits the fan, because it's gonna, and this is why this is the most important part. Because when the shit hits the fan, and you as a coach need to make a decision that is going to change the directory of the shit hitting the fan, the client is going to turn around and be like, I trust you wholeheartedly because of every interaction and all of the past experiences and everything that we've built up and done over X amount of time. So there is, yep, cool, let's do it. That's it. That's you're literally building this rapport for one moment. And I say one moment because it'll happen throughout your coaching journey with a client, but one moment that kind of happens of where you need to make a decision and the client goes, yep, I keep doing this, or I'm on board, or yes, let's do whatever X and Y and Z is. Or it's the continuation of like, I'm dropping your calories. It's like, fuck. Like, I was really looking forward to that burger on the weekend, but I trust Thayer. Like, he knows what he's doing. I'm just going to continue with the process. I know what I'm doing. And it's like, and there's this trust that's there. Everything that you do is building up so that when you make your decisions upon the roadmap or the framework in which you are taking this client towards their goal, they trust you in what you are doing and getting them the best result. That's it. That's why you do it. Because if you don't have any of that backing, they are going to sit there and be like, is this the right decision? Is James doing the right thing? Like, I've seen so many other people do this though. Like, I don't know, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. That's what you want to avoid. And they're not doing that because they question you. It's because you haven't instilled enough trust in what you are doing. Genuinely, that's honestly what I believe 9 out of 10 times. You've either done one of two things. You have not built enough trust, or you have not explained why you are doing X, Y, and Z, which comes back to the whole trust thing. The explanation gives trust and gives authority from that. So it's essentially the same thing. They don't trust you in what you're doing. And there will come a time when that happens, and you will need to address it. And you'll be like, hey, Thayer, all of these other times have we been wrong? Have I taken you down the path? Has your trust in me not following through on your trust and want to do resulted in a bad solution? No, it hasn't. All right, so trust me with this. It's like I've given you, I've proven you, I have the track record. So we continue that, and that only happens if you start, and that starts from that initial interaction, that call, that seeing each other. It's like when all of these things start combining and building together, that is trust. That's like when you have a coach-client relationship where they trust you, they question to learn, They question to understand, which I think is vitally important if you are a client of a coach and you don't question to understand and to be reassured, not as an arrogant dick, but to be reassured around and wanting to learn. Your coach should be able to do that easily, very, very easily. You've got to that whole relationship, when that builds up together, it's bound to be successful. There's nothing that will stop that from being successful unless a compliance thing comes off the back end of that. But that's how this whole kind of, I want to say, fucking Play-Doh ball of just all these different colors of just things come together in this coaching client relationship. It makes the biggest impact. If you can instill that trust, which is part of reputation, which is part of the way you carry yourself, it's the things you do, it's the things you show up and do, it's the way that you hold yourself to a standard. All of these things come together, they build trust and reputation, and that's what will make you. It will make you a coach that is far more successful in the people business of coaching, and with that, you will gain results. And then again, results creates trust, and it kind of just all continues to create the spiral effect of what happens.
You bring up such a valuable point that having people understand, understanding or recognizing the sign that, one, if somebody's questioning something, it doesn't mean that they don't trust you. It means that they generally want to know, and it is part of your duty to be able to answer that, to be able to explain, to help kind of, again, build that bridge, because inevitably chaos is going to happen, and that can be several instances in your relationship with your client of, are we crossing this bridge together or separate? And whenever it is through separate means, there's a lack of trust or a loss of trust. So being able to recognize, one, are you upholding that value and being able to explain to the individual to the level that they understand and they can put their trust in you? But also recognizing and auditing whenever you're going through, if the questions aren't questions of understanding, if they're coming from a place of concern or just questioning because they're not seeing the results, that's on you to recognize of, hey, maybe I don't have this individual's trust because how these questions are coming up, because it's not wanting to learn or wanting to better understand. It's, hey, I don't think this is working. Are you sure we should be doing this? Are you sure? Because I don't think this is going to work for me. They're very different places where they come up. And in an audit sense for a coach, it's important to recognize that and start addressing it so you can act in good faith with that individual. So they are willing to they're willing to put it in you and kind of follow the path that they need to see success. But there needs to be that trust developed for that to happen. Otherwise, as a coach, you're always going to kind of be fighting against it. And if it's not addressed, that dynamic's never going to change. And I like the fact that kind of using that example of the Play-Doh of the mold, that it's up to the coach to understand first off, hey, is this going to be a good dynamic initially, or is this going to be a fight the whole time? Is there a potential for this to work, or are you setting yourself up for failure off the get-go because you don't have similar values, because you're just not going to mesh in that dynamic? And then again, being able to in molding an individual, understanding how you mold that individual is, you as a coach, you're adjusting and adapting to your client to, hey, what mold do they need? It's not, trying to put every square in a round hole. It's hey, let's find the shapes that work together, the approaches that get the results, the validations. If one individual needs those validations because you understand, hey, this is the concern that they have. Let me help remind them we've been successful this time. Like, you've trusted me before. We've got these results. Don't lose sight of that, or maintain that faith that we've developed so we can work through this together. Whereas another person might need a different approach. But as a coach, it's up to you to understand how we mold this individual into the shape that's going to, again, get the results that they've come to you for, that they put that trust into you with, is you being able to articulate to them, you being able to be dynamic enough that you're adjustable to the different people that you train and that you work with. And you're not, just a one note coach that, hey, this is like, I only do this one thing and I can't adapt, because that's very short sighted. It's very limited in being able to maintain those relationships long term, but also it's very limiting in how you can get results for individuals. I know for a fact, you as a coach, you have to coach different ways with different individuals to get those results. Even though, you're going to use similar exercises, you're going to have a scheme that you're going to like initially incorporate, but how you put that into play, how you maneuver around the needs of those clients is going to change. And you're very versatile in your ability to like create that experience for them and get the results, or get individual results for them.
I think, to summarize it all, and like I'll go back to that Play-Doh analogy because I actually really liked it. It's at the end of the day, this entire thing is going to look like a sculpture that makes fuck all sense. To be 100% honest, it's going to look like a Jackson Pollock sculpture thing with like square eyes and like a foot for a hand, and like it's just going to be a mess. But the whole idea behind this is every part of the different colors of the Play-Doh, all the little bits that come together that all match and mold and build the structure in front of you, is all going to be the little experiences that your client will remember, for example, that then builds the trust, or will be able to take that experience and add that to the sculpture that is this thing, this monstrosity that's in front of you, that is the client experience, that is the trust, that is the safe environment, that is the end result. Because at the end of the day, the name of the game of what we're trying to do is achieve a result, which is that as close to, and I say as close to the goal that the client has, because every client will have a goal, like something that they want, and it's your job, it's literally your job as the coach to get them as close to that as possible. And all of these things we go through that builds the client rapport and the trust and the relationship and all this, and it'll be this Jackson Pollock fucking nightmare. But it's like that's coaching. That's the beauty of it. Is like it's going to be this mess monstrosity in front of you that is going to allow you to get the results that your client wants to get, because everything is going to be slightly different. I have clients who have, this thing in front of me, and a lot more of it is like from the emotional standpoint. Like it's if emotion is green, it looks a lot more of a green thing. And like I'm working a lot more on that aspect of it. Like I'm trying to support them in terms of that. It's like, and then I have clients who I speak to once a week. And like, I don't do any, and it's like, yep, did you do your sessions? Yep, 100%, tick, 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 tick. All of their metrics is like, want to increase weights on this week. Okay, cool, done. That's it. Like, there's almost like no emotional aspect. It's like and you look at this mold of what I'm talking about, and if you guys can try to visualize it, think of every touch point in terms of coaching as a different color. And everyone's mold is going to have a greater amount of color for certain aspects that are more highlighted parts of the touch points. As I said, some are going to be more emotional. Some are going to be more from like the stress management side. Some are going to be more in terms of like the performance elements. Like all of these things need to be like, you're going to have more of one than the other. And it's like your ability as a coach is to be this artist and mold this thing in front of you with each one of these things in different shapes or forms or amounts to build the structure to then be able to get your client to that end result. And none of that is possible without trust. None of that is going to be able to be done without trust. And trust is all of these things. It's all of your actions. It's all of your interactions. It's your interpretations. It's the way you speak to them. It's the results you get. It's the way that you show up. It's all of the micro things that you do. It is not just tick the box, tick the box, tick the box. I've sent them the message. I've sent them their program. I've sent them their macros. That's not it. So if you're not working on all of those things and you're not trying to be better at those things, I don't think your trust element will ever be at its ability to be its greatest. Work on those things and everything else will get better.
I think that's the artistry of coaching.
Yeah, it's the Jackson Pollock fucking Play-Doh shit. And it has to be in Play-Doh because obviously we're children. That's as simple as it is. Yeah. On that note, guys, we appreciate you guys listening. Thank you very much. Hope you took something from this. We'll see you guys in one of the next episodes sometime. Have a good one.